Hello everyone. Welcome to this webinar on working together to support people engaging with the Disability Royal Commission, presented by Your Story Disability Legal Support. We are also very fortunate today to have an Auslan interpreter joining us. Her name is Kelly, and the recording will also include her interpreting. Before we begin, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we are broadcasting from today and pay our respect to elders past and present and extend that respect to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people listening today. My name is Natalie. I'm from the Legal Aid New South Wales Community Legal Education team, and I'm joined today by Rachel, who's a lawyer in the Your Story Disability Legal Support team. Hi, Rachel.
Hi everybody.
Rachel and I just would like to point out, not to be sound too much like lawyers, but today's webinar is legal information and not legal advice. But if you do have specific questions, we will definitely be telling you how to go about getting answers to those later on. So what this webinar is about is, you can see on your screen there, this workshop is about Your Story Disability Legal Support resources to assist disability advocates. We're also going to talk about how to spot Royal Commission related legal issues and use our referral checklist. And the topic of our webinar is how can we work together? So whether you're a disability advocate or community worker, this is all about how we can work together with the disability legal support, Your Story Disability Legal Support, and working with you in the Royal Commission. So I'm going to hand over now to Rachel, but before I do, we've got a really quick poll just to get a bit of an idea of what your experience is so far with the Disability Royal Commission. So you should be able to see on your screen, there's a really quick poll. Have you assisted a client to share their story with the Disability Royal Commission? Yes, no, not yet, or you're not sure? Okay, I'm just going to close that and share that with Rachel. So some people are also using the chat and saying no, not yet. And I'm going to share that result with you. So Rachel, you can see that about a third, 37% of people have already assisted a client to share their story and 63% not yet. So this will be really useful, I guess, for all those people. So thanks very much, everyone.
Sure.
And Rachel, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, so as many of you may know, Your Story is an independent national legal service supporting people who want to or are thinking about engaging with and telling their story to the Disability Royal Commission. What do we do at Your Story? Primarily, we provide legal advice to empower clients to choose whether and how to safely share their story with the Commission. Also, on a client's instructions, we can talk to the Royal Commission to facilitate safe engagement. This may be liaising with the Commission about obtaining a notice to produce or a private session. We can also identify non-DRC legal issues and link a client with other lawyers. So, for example, if a client has a discrimination law or a housing law matter, then we can locate a lawyer who works in that area and link that client to them so that they can get that advice. Generally, the support that we do provide is discreet and short-term. However, we certainly welcome clients coming to us as many times as they need for us to provide advice. Not everyone will need advice from a lawyer, but if they are concerned about anything, then it's useful to get that advice at an early stage. So talking to clients about your story. We understand that some clients are reluctant or worried about talking to a lawyer and getting advice. So we have developed 2 resources that you may have seen prior to this, and we hope that you may find these resources useful to talk to clients about the role of your story and how we fit in and how we can assist. What the resources are is an animated video and a flipbook. We also have a number of fact sheets and self-help resources, such as ideas for preparing a submission, that are available on our website. Our website, including the frequently asked questions, is equipped with the browse aloud translation tool so that you can listen to it or translate the content. Our animated video is 1.5 minutes long and is on the front page of our website. It provides an overview for what getting legal advice from your story looks like, and it's a useful, quick way for clients to really understand the role of your story and where we fit. So I understand that we're going to attempt to play it now. So we'll see how we go.
Sometimes, people with a disability have been hurt, treated badly, refused help, or taken advantage of. This is wrong, and the Disability Royal Commission has been set up to look at this. Your Story Disability Legal Support is a free legal service. We are independent from the Royal Commission. We can answer your questions about sharing your story with the Royal Commission, like: how can I share my story?
How can I keep my story private?
Can I name the person or organization that hurt me?
I signed this legal document which says I can't talk about what happened. What does that mean? Will I lose my job if I share what I saw at work?
We can provide legal support so you can safely share your story. We give legal support in a way that works for you. Our lawyers won't tell anyone what you have told them, unless you agree. For free legal support, call our free number, 1-800-77-1800, or visit our website, www.yourstorydisabilitylegal.org.au.
So, Rachel, did you want to talk about what the key messages are from the video?
So some of the key takeaways from the video are that your story is a free legal service to support people to share their story with the Disability Royal Commission. We're independent, where it's a confidential service. So when you talk to us, we keep what you say private. Talking to a lawyer does not mean that you're in trouble, and your story can support you to decide how and if you engage with the Royal Commission. So we certainly encourage people to play that video for clients, or alternatively direct them to the website so that they can watch it themselves. Our other resource that I mentioned was our Flipbook. Our Flipbook is in comic form, and it contains 4 stories of individual people with disability and works through 4 different options of sharing stories with the Royal Commission. It's another tool that you could use when talking to clients about the DRC and about your story. So in the Flipbook, each person comes to your story to talk about their concerns about sharing their story, and they receive legal advice and support. In Samir's story, he wants to talk about his experience about a time that he went to hospital and did not receive adequate medical treatment and was exposed to risk. He talks to a Your Story lawyer and gets advice about how to make a submission and some advice about naming the name of the hospital and the doctors who are involved. In Sarah's story, she wants to talk about living in a group home where she was restrained. She wants to keep her story private. She talks to a Your Story lawyer about private sessions and the legal protections there. In Kim's story, she wants to share her story about being paid less by her employer, even though they do the same role. She needs legal advice as she signs a legal agreement. She receives some advice about notice to produce. And lastly, in Joe's story, he comes to Your Story for advice about publicly sharing his experiences of the accessibility problems and issues that he has faced, and he gets advice about a community forum. So as you can see, each of those stories cover different options, and it's a really useful way to discuss the different ways that clients can share a story and how legal advice could benefit them. It's worth noting that since March with COVID, the Royal Commission has stopped community forums. They also briefly suspended the private sessions between March and June. However, those have now resumed virtually by audio or video link. The Commission have said that they intend to continue private sessions this way for the rest of 2020, but hope to resume in person next year, COVID permitting, of course. Submissions continue to be accepted. So the Flipbook is available on our webpage. It has audio and it's also available in PDF, and it has a HTML transcript with visual description available. There's a tip sheet for using the Flipbook and the video on our website as well under the resources tab. Key messages are really that everyone's story is really different and there's different ways to share your story, and Your Story is here to give advice and support in relation to that.
Thanks, Rachel. And also there'll be a link to the Flipbook and to the website in an email that you will get 1 hour after the webinar. So you'll have the links there. The next section Rachel will be talking about is, does my client need legal advice? Before we go on, does anyone have any questions about Your Story disability legal support? Any questions you have, please just type them into the question panel and we'll ask Rachel at the end. So thanks, Rachel. I'll change the slide and sorry about that. There we go.
So we understand it's hard to identify at times when a client may benefit from or when a client may need legal advice. Not everyone needs legal advice. However, if there's concerns, it is useful to get advice early. For some clients, legal advice may inform whether they need to take additional steps or get some extra information before they share their story. So, for example, a client who is sharing a story on behalf of somebody else or about somebody else may need to talk to that person first. It could inform how a client chooses to share their story. So through a submission, notice to produce, private session, and it could inform how much information a client provides to the DRC. So do they send in attachments? Do they de-identify their whole story, some parts? It could inform and assist in making those decisions. Legal advice can also address some specific concerns that a client may have about, say, naming names, what a legal agreement means that they may have signed, concerns about payback, retribution, safety, privacy, and so forth. So legal advice can also inform a client's decision about whether or not they do engage. So, for example, if a client has concerns about safety or so forth, understanding the options and protections available may assist in terms of whether they engage, and if so, how. Some other examples of when legal advice may be useful is for young people. So young people may want to have a chat to us about if their story is public, how may that affect them in the future, what happens to the story after the Royal Commission is over. If you're telling someone else's story, so you should get their permission to do so if you're planning on identifying them in your submission. There can, however, be different submissions made about the same event from different people with different perspectives. So, for example, a parent and a child can talk about that child's experiences at school. The parent can talk about their experience, and then the child can talk about theirs, rather than the parent talking on behalf of that child. So that's an instance when you may want to talk to your story. If the Royal Commission approaches someone to share their story at a public hearing, that's another way of engaging, and that's most often initiated by the Royal Commission or by solicitors who work with the Royal Commission. So if you hear that the Royal Commission have approached somebody about appearing as a witness, then it's a good idea for them to get some independent legal advice, and your story can certainly provide that. Lastly, with advocates, so in some cases, advocates may want to make their own submission about some events or something that has occurred with a client. This may happen in instances where a client has since passed away, and in those instances, you can make a submission if you don't have the client's consent. But in terms of de-identifying how private that is, that's something that your story can talk to you about as well. So when thinking about possible legal issues that may arise, we thought it was useful to develop a legal referral checklist to assist support workers and advocates to identify potential legal matters that may arise when working with clients who are considering telling their story. And the legal checklist is attached to the webinar, and you're welcome to download that and use that in your work. So our legal referral checklist not only helps you identify legal issues, it helps us provide a more tailored advice. So if we know that you have a client who is particularly concerned about, say, some legal action that was in the past, then our legal advice can really focus on that and about providing that tailored advice to that client's specific circumstances. Details on
Rachel,
how to use our checklist are included at the end.
I might just
Yep.
interrupt you with a couple of questions that we've got from people, if that's okay.
Sure.
So one of them is coming back to legal advice, just to explain words you used. What is a notice to produce?
So in the usual course, sending in your submission is voluntary. A notice to produce is in effect when you ask the Royal Commission to ask you for your story, making it no longer voluntary. And that's important in instances where a client may have barriers stopping them from telling their story. There's a number of other legal protections that a notice to produce provides, and we've actually got a fact sheet on our website about those legal protections.
Great. And this is a sort of related question. If an agency makes an anonymous submission because the person with disability may be traumatized and doesn't want to identify themselves, but they do want their story to be heard, can the Commission compel the agency to give the details of the person?
So that would be something that I would encourage you to have a chat to us about, because it sounds like there's some more specifics and other details that are probably useful to work through. So I would encourage you to give us a call about that.
Great, good advice. Okay, did you want to talk more about this or go on to the referral checklist that people might have downloaded in front of them now?
So let's talk quickly about this. These are some of the key common legal issues that pop up, and we've actually included a summary on each of these at the end of our legal referral checklist to really support you discussing some of these legal issues with your clients. Things like confidentiality and privacy. A client may want to protect their privacy and their confidentiality when sharing their story. They may want to talk about confidentiality of other people who are in their story, i.e., if they're caring for somebody and their story relates to that person. Your story can also talk to a client about, if they ask for their story to be kept confidential, how long that lasts for, and what steps they can take to share their story in a private way. With naming names, for some clients, they may consider that it's really important to name the names of organizations or people in their story. This is a personal choice. Your stories can talk to clients about this and about any legal risks that may arise, and so that they understand those and any steps that they can take to reduce them. Legal action. A client may want to talk about experiences that relate to courts or legal action. They might think that it's okay as it was a long time ago and it's done and it's over, or it was settled. But it's a useful idea that if a client is talking about a legal case in the past or now, to get some legal advice about what the law says about what they can share and how to share it. With retribution, a client may have concerns about punishment, about where they live or work or study, or have some concerns about accessing services if they share their story. So your story can talk to clients about this and about what would happen if, or what might happen in the event that they experienced it. Client documents really relates more to any attachments that a client would like to send in to the DRC. Some clients want to talk about information that they've received from their work, or that they've or from a freedom of information request. So your story can talk about those and about if there's any laws that impact the sharing of such documents. So with our referral checklist, we hope that we
Rachel?
have designed it to be as easy to use as possible.
So we've got 2 questions about the referral checklist before you start.
Yeah.
If someone can't download it from these slides, is it on the website, on the Your Story website?
It will be put on the website, I understand, tomorrow. So
Okay.
watch this space, but it will be available on the website. And we're happy to email it out as well.
Okay,
if
perfect.
you would like.
I know you have some easy read documents on the website. Is the referral checklist in easy read as well?
So with easy read, we're planning on developing many more easy read resources. So we're certainly planning on having a look at that, and we're putting up on our website soon 2 more resources with a mechanism for feedback, as we would like to continuously improve and develop more on our easy read. So
I think
watch
you've just got
this
some
space about
feedback.
that as
I
well.
think you've just got some feedback that someone would like an easy read version of the checklist.
I would definitely make a note of that, and that's easy read is certainly on our radar and something that we're really working hard on at the moment.
All right. Thanks, Rachel. I'll let you continue about the checklist.
So in terms of the checklist, it shouldn't take more than about 10 minutes or so to complete. The steps are really complete the checklist. In the event that a client answers yes to one or more of the questions, then a referral to get some legal advice from your story is appropriate. On the slide is our telephone there to call us to book in for an appointment. And we would certainly encourage you to email the completed referral checklist to us, so that the lawyer who is giving the advice has the chance to review it, so that they can provide a really tailored advice when the appointment comes up. It's worthwhile explaining as well that an answer of yes to any of the questions does not necessarily mean that there's a legal problem or that your client is in any sort of legal trouble. What it does indicate is that legal advice could be a useful tool so that the client can really decide how to safely share their story.
Rachel, we've got a couple of questions about that booking appointments for clients.
Yeah.
Firstly, who can make a booking for clients? Is it only advocates, or can any support services or counsellors make appointments for clients?
Any support services or counsellors, really anybody can. What we would need to do though is, if the client is not with the support worker, the counsellor, the advocate, we would, at the time of the appointment, just check in with them to get their consent about legal advice. But anybody can call us to make an appointment.
And Rachel, if somebody struggles to use the phone, can they email that email address, the yourstory@legalaid.qld.gov.au? Is that how they can make an appointment, or can they send a text?
Yes, of course. So you can email us. You can use the contact us form on our webpage as well. I understand that that's used quite often. So there's also, you could use the National Relay Service. So there's plenty of options. It's not just that telephone. Certainly encourage you to email if that's easier.
We're talking more about how to contact at the end of the webinar as well. Thanks,
Yeah.
Rachel.
So, an example of using the checklist. Let's look at Sarah's story. So, in Sarah's story, we talked about before her wanting to share her experience of when she was restrained in her group home. So Sarah is mostly worried about who will find out about her story and is really concerned about her confidentiality. So some of the issues that Sarah may have concerns about are DRC processes. So I've just ticked yes there. Under confidentiality and privacy, she's worried about the privacy of her story. So yes. She wants to know how to keep her story confidential. Yes. She's ticked no here to any activity that might be illegal. In the event that you're not sure about anything, you don't have to tick every box as well. You can just leave that blank. And she's also ticked under naming names, yes, as she would like to name the name of an organization or person. So what's really useful about this checklist is that it gives the lawyer who is providing the legal advice an insight really into what Sarah's main concerns and worries are, so that they can then tailor their advice accordingly and really work through and focus on those key matters that Sarah is most concerned about. So the referral checklist, sorry, just to end, can be used at any time when you're working with a client. If you'd like to send a copy of your client submission to us for review, then we really encourage you to complete the checklist as well and then send it to us one day before the appointment. And what that will do is really help the Your Story lawyer understand the particular concerns, and so when they review the submission, they'll have those concerns and issues in mind.
Thanks, Rachel.
So now let's talk about us working together. Yeah. Unless anyone has questions.
Not at this stage. We'll definitely have time for questions at the end, so I'll let you keep going with how we can work together.
All right, sure. So we understand that we have a common goal of supporting clients to safely share their story with the DRC. And we know and understand that there are barriers here. And we're constantly looking for new ways to develop new resources which will assist clients and you understand legal issues that may impact how they share their story. Other than what we've talked about today, we also have on our website some general resources and ideas for preparing a submission and some other general legal information. We've got some answers to frequently asked questions, and we've got a poster for Aboriginal clients about your story. We also have a document that explains our resources and when they might be useful that we're happy to send to you if you'd like as well. We also have a YouTube channel where you can find our video, and there's 3 online captioned webinars that are on there. This one will also land on there once captioned. Please contact us in the event that you would like to tell us about any commonly occurring issues that are popping up, to provide us with feedback, or to talk to us about how we can improve our accessibility and our service delivery. We're also happy for you to contact us to get copies of our poster that you can display, or to suggest any new resources or any improvements on our existing ones that you think would work.
Thanks, Rachel. There actually was one question about accessibility, about the little video that we showed before, whether there is an audio described version of the video.
So there is, and there's a HTML version of it as well on our website. So under the resources tab. And so there's a HTML script, and then you can use the read aloud tool on the website that will read that out loud.
Great, thanks. Okay, so I think we're up to our take-home messages.
So some quick take-homes. There's no wrong door. So if a client has concerns or has some worries or just really is not sure, you can call us. Remembering though that not every client needs legal advice. We can and we're happy to provide legal advice at any stage of the process. So whether that's a client who is considering engaging, is halfway through engaging, or is more at the end of engaging. There's also no limit to the amount of times that we can talk to clients. Look at our website for some of our resources, and that link is there on the screen. We encourage you to use our legal referral checklist as well, and to let us know any comments or feedback you may have on that, as it's a new resource.
That's great, thank you. And finally, Rachel, what are the different ways? We started talking about this before, but how can people contact your story?
So you can contact us via telephone on 1800 77 1800. You can contact us via our website that's got a contact us form. You can send us an email. You can contact us using the translating and interpreting service or the national relay service, and we're available to people with disability, carers, support workers, counsellors, advocates. The list goes on.
Thanks, Rachel. I'm going to leave this slide up because it's got the website and the phone number on, but now we are up to question time. So the timing has been great, Rachel, well done. And there are already a few questions coming in. So are you happy if I just ask you those now?
Sure.
Okay. So one question is around, would you accept stories? I'm not sure if that's the Royal Commission or your story, but would you accept stories that may have been taken to lawyers before?
So there's lots of clients who have had involvement with lawyers before, court proceedings. So we're certainly happy to talk to those clients about the ways that they can safely share their story. Talking to us is confidential, and we're lawyers as well, so it's not putting the client at risk by having a talk to us to get some legal advice about that.
Okay. This is another question about a notice to produce, and this one might be one that the person should be contacting your story as well. But if with notices to produce, do the advocates still submit the submission once advice has been obtained? I'm not sure I quite follow. Is that enough information for you, Rachel?
In the event that you were to get a notice to produce, you would wait until you actually received it before then sending in your submission, because what that notice does is it's compelling your submission. But if there's a specific question about that, then please give us a call, and that's something that we can certainly talk through further.
Hopefully that answers the question. We've got a few more minutes, so if anyone has questions, but just there was one question before that someone had heard that only advocates could make referrals, could make appointments to your story, but that's maybe a myth that we should dispel, that any support worker or counsellor or social worker can make an appointment to your story.
Any support worker can, but if the client is not there at the time that you're making the appointment, then when the appointment comes up, we just check in with the client about consent and about, so anybody can make that appointment though.
Great, thank you for that. So there are another question. How would you assure a client who may not trust legal services that they will be supported?
Look, that's a hard one. I guess that's another way that we can work together there, and another way where it may help to direct the client to our video, to our Flipbook, and these other resources that are there to see how we can work with them and how your story can support them.
Definitely. And people can self-refer to your story, is that right? They can just call that number or use the contact us form.
Yes,
Yep.
most definitely. So you don't need to have an advocate or a support worker. You can ring that number yourself in the event that you would like legal advice.
Okay, these are all really good questions to clarify how we can work together with your story. So thank you for asking those. Okay, well, if there are no more questions, then I would just say thank you very much to Rachel and to Kelly for your time today. And we hope everyone's learnt something new, and please fill out the survey that you will get following the webinar. Oh, sorry. Okay, one more quick question about if somebody needs an interpreter, can an interpreter make a referral on behalf of a client?
So if somebody needed an interpreter, what we would encourage them to do is use, say, the translating and interpreting service to call us. That's at no cost to that client. So rather than an interpreter making that appointment on behalf of the client, we'd certainly encourage the client to contact us using one of these different ways, and then we can arrange a time to talk and link them in with an interpreter for that appointment as well.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone, and
Thank
we'll
you.
see you next time.